Hi guys, so welcome to the first edition of Better Banter. So we figured at BCI we'd start a new initiative. The idea is basically to hold space for two people at the end of each month to basically talk about their life, climbing, their adventure, and what they'd like to share with the broader community. I'd also like to welcome everyone who's joined us today and taken the time. For the ones who couldn't join us and for the friends who'd like to see this later, we are also recording this entire conversation and we're going to be uploading it on our YouTube channel. So, our first guests for edition one of Better Banter, we'll welcome Supriya and Karthik. Hi and welcome.
Hello, thank you.
How are you guys doing?
Karthik.
You want to go first?
Go on, Supriya. I will.
I thought he was going to say something more. Karthik, come on. You can't use monosyllabic answers.
No, I said.
Huh.
I said you can go first.
Okay, fine. No, I'm doing well. You're actually catching me at a time when I'm normally in Bombay, but right now I'm traveling around for a bit, and I'm actually in Punjab right now. So it's a slightly free time. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm good. What about you?
I am doing good. It's my first off day in 9 days, so excited to get some break. And yeah, it's cold here, so fully laid up and starting my transition period today. Need to start packing my bags to India, start weighing the bags.
Nice. You're coming back home.
Yeah, coming back home.
Okay. So I thought we'd start with a little bit of an introduction with you all. Maybe start with speaking about your childhood and early years. Where were you born, raised? We'd start from there and then we'll figure our way out to what you're doing with your life now and how climbing has become part of your life. Yeah, we'll go with Karthik first this time.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like grew up in Andhra in a small village, Kandukur.
Okay.
Didn't have any access to outdoors. The most outdoorsy thing we did was like running around farms or playing cricket. And yeah, just for studios. And it's like typical South Indian village lifestyle. Like was always active, played all the sports that I can get my hands on, but that's pretty much it. And studies, and then when I got into engineering, I did like a hitchhiking trip after my first year,
Okay.
and because I think engineering is the first place where you like seeing people from different places.
Would you like
and
to
this-
elaborate just a little bit about this hitchhiking trip?
Yeah, I was just like in engineering where everyone else is like coming from different backgrounds, and for the first time I'm hearing stories of people traveling and from different places. I'm like, oh, I want to travel, and I didn't have that much money, so I had
Okay.
some 1,500 rupees or something. So I thought, oh, I'll hitchhike maybe for a week or for 10 days, and then I'll see where it'll lead me. And then it ended up being like more than a 1 month trip. And then I went to Kashmir and I saw the mountains. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do engineering anymore. I just know what I want to do.
Okay.
And then I told my parents, obviously, not very interested or supportive because for obvious reasons, because even I didn't know careers like this existed or anything. So they were against me. So I still like forcefully dropped out of engineering and then started doing different things. Like I started working with Decathlon, saved some money, left Decathlon, started 1,500 rupees or something. So I thought, oh, I'll hitchhike maybe for a week or for 10 days, and then I'll see where it'll lead me. And then it ended up being like more than a 1 month trip. And then I went to Kashmir and I saw the mountains. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to do engineering anymore. I just know what I want to do.
Okay.
And then I told my parents, obviously, not very interested or supportive because for obvious reasons, because even I didn't know careers like this existed or anything. So they were against me. So I still like forcefully dropped out of engineering and then started doing different things. Like I started working with Decathlon, saved some money, left Decathlon, started did my basic mountaineering course, and that was monitoring course. Started working with India Hikes, saved some money, started doing courses with NOLs, and then
Okay.
again,
How long was the mountaineering course and how long did you end up working with India Hikes and what was that experience
uh,
like?
the mountaineering course, the basic mountaineering course was 28 days, and that one's mountaineering course is also 28 days.
Okay.
Uh, I did more than one of each. I don't want to go into the
Which year
numbers.
was this? Which year did you do these?
2013 to 2015, I did
Okay.
multiple of them. You're not supposed to, but then back then, it was an easy way to get 1 month of food and accommodation for 5,000.
Okay. And you get to skill up at the same time. Sounds like like a
I
smooth
mean, there's
deal.
not much skill involved, but I was like, oh, 1 month free food. I'm gonna be for 5,000. I'm gonna sign up for more and just lie that I haven't done this course before.
Okay.
Karthik was on a roll with breaking rules once he started.
And, yeah, and then I joined India Hikes in 2015, and then worked with them till
Okay.
early 2018.
Hmm.
During which I was also doing some NOLS Wilderness First Responder course I did in 2016, and I did the trip leader course in 2018. So
Okay.
that's my journey into outdoors. And then during, I want to plug in BCI here, is during my uh, BMC and AMC times, I was
Okay.
like, I got introduced to rock climbing,
Hmm.
but I got introduced to rock climbing
Which
in a
year
way
was
that
this again? Which year was this again?
2014.
14.
You know,
Okay.
all these courses have like few days of rock climbing. It's mostly
Sure.
hiking, and then it's like a PT, but there's few days of rock climbing. I got introduced to rock climbing
Okay.
in a way that I realized that I don't know anything about rock climbing.
Okay.
Like I like watching YouTube and stuff. I realized that okay, they made me climb some rock, but I have no understanding of the systems.
Hmm.
And even looking at these things in YouTube, I don't even think they have any understanding. The instructors have any understanding. So I think there was a time where I was anybody with a helmet or a harness or a carabiner in their Instagram, I was messaging them.
Okay. Because you were eager to learn more.
I was like, I want to learn climbing. Can you teach me? Like that climbing. And then I see Sohani is on the group. So Sohani is one of the people who responded.
Hmm.
And my first actual climbing lesson that I think that uh, I still remember, or like actually useful climbing lesson was given by Sohan in
Okay.
his house on the metal window grills as anchors. He taught me earnest anchor building, and
Okay.
he taught me about like factor two falls, that difference between alpine anchors and rock anchors, and that took me outdoor climbing. And I think that's my first formal way to be introduced into rock climbing. Is like, okay, there's so much more to rock climbing than just climbing rock.
Everyone has that one anecdotal story about their experience with Sohan, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much my story.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that with us. Supriya, would you like to
Sure.
start at the early days?
Start at the early days. So I was actually, I think, diametrically opposite to Karthik. He was in Andhra, in a small place. I was in Delhi,
Okay.
and I didn't have access to climbing per se, but my dad was actually a very enthusiastic outdoors person. So he used to take my brother and I. We used to go out with him almost every Sunday, and there's this ridge forest around my house,
Okay.
and he would just give us these random sort of challenges, go climb that tree, go climb that rock. So I think from that very young age itself, we'd already been doing a lot of these things, which I think I came to realize much later not a lot of people do, or at least were doing already by the time our generation was growing up.
Tends to be a
And then
little harder for the city folk.
definitely. And then, despite the fact that I was in Delhi, I was too far from the mountaineering institutes, etc., because I live in the north part of the city and they were in the extreme south part. So it was
Okay.
too far a distance to traverse. So, anyway, so I didn't get around to really doing anything solid really in terms of outdoors, except like when I was in school I went for quite a few treks because I was in boarding. They used to arrange these treks where I actually imagined I chopped off a bit of my summer vacation to go on these treks with this one person who you
This was
almost used to
arranged by your school?
volunteer. No, so this was actually someone who used to volunteer at the school. He used to just take us for marathons, and
Okay.
then he was the person who would also, arrange these treks. So I went for about 2 or 3 years, and then for the longest time there was no access to the outdoors because you pass out and then you go back to Delhi, and then suddenly you find yourself in this whole thing of college and then work and except I was miserable at work. I hated it.
Okay.
So much like Karthik left engineering, I just upped and left everything one day,
Okay.
and I moved to Mumbai, where I've been now for the last 10 years,
Okay.
and slowly found my way into sports broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't know anyone when I moved to Bombay, I just had one school friend over there, and she again lived too far, and I didn't have any other way of really getting to know people. And I was always interested in the outdoors. Strangely enough, it was in Bombay that I found an outlet because there was an artificial wall, which a lot
Okay.
of the Mumbai folks have been introduced to as the first step to climbing.
What is the
So
name of
that's
this space?
it's called Arun Samant,
Okay.
and it's an outdoor artificial climbing wall. It's actually located within the grounds of a government school.
Okay. Okay.
So I just went there on a whim. Apparently, at that time, it wasn't even open a lot, except
Mm-hmm.
on the day that I went, I was lucky enough, it was open. And then I just went and started climbing. And then, well, once you try it, you get hooked to it. And, I met a few people, and
Were there instructors there on that first time that you went there, or did you just try this on your own, or
no,
how
no, they
did it
had
play out?
instructors because this was a high wall. So
Oh,
they
okay.
definitely had, I
Okay.
think, about three instructors, people who belayed, etc. They didn't teach you a lot, though. I mean, they taught you about climbing, but they
Sure.
didn't teach you anything about systems. And then
Okay.
one of the people from that wall itself arranged this one climbing trip to this small island off Mumbai. It's called Manori.
Okay.
So I went there with two other people who were coming to the wall, and that was my
Okay.
first introduction to outdoors climbing.
This is sport climbing.
Yeah, this is sport
Okay.
climbing.
Okay.
And I don't think climbing was ever the same for me again because once I got a taste of the outdoors, I was like, I can't go back to the artificial wall like at all.
So this,
So,
obviously when you went to this, they brought gear for you.
yeah.
Okay. So in 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 two parts of your conversation here, it brings up the whole concept of initiative.
Hmm.
In this case, with these guys actually introducing people to climbing while taking care of the systems themselves and making it easy to access climbing for the first time. And also, like you mentioned earlier, if there wasn't this individual who was coming to your school to make this initiative to take you out on these treks and things like that, what do you think about the school system in India? How conducive is it to sport, considering you are from this industry and we just were on this conversation? I'd like to know your opinion on what do you think it was, at least what do you think the difference is during when we grew up, and what do you see the difference is now, if you have an
So
opinion on it?
definitely have
Yeah,
an opinion because so see, like I said, formative years in Delhi, almost every school in Delhi has a sports ground, which means that you have access to some sort of outdoor activity, right? Even if it's
okay,
just running and participating in the sports day. Then I went to a boarding which had a very extensive sports facility. But then
okay.
when I came to Bombay, it might sound naive when I say it, but honestly, for the first time, I was confronted with schools where there was no sports facility at all. And I spoke
Just
to people who said that, sports days for them were just like one day where their school would probably hire a ground of a different school and they would just go and basically have a picnic. I've never been able to wrap my head around that.
it wasn't like that in Bangalore when I was growing up, but that's exactly what you're describing now. But it's because of the space constraint when a city
Right.
grows.
So, and when you meet those people, then that is exactly when you realize that, something as basic as, like I said, when I was a really tiny kid, I was just doing something as random as climbing a tree. There are people who've never done even that. And it affects you. you don't have an idea of what the outdoor holds for you. I think that directly has an impact on, you know, consequent things like, do you have any respect for the outdoors, what your outlook towards nature and the environment is, on the whole. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that that all
that's
begins
a
from the
very big
fact
point.
of your interaction with all these elements.
So I'm on the other extreme as Karthik. I was born bang smack in the middle of the city. There's barely any trees around me, so all the climbing I did was on mostly artificial structures.
Huh.
So now when I go out rock climbing, it's the first time in my life as a 30-year-old that I actually climb among nature. As a child, I was either at a park that was built by someone or in an apartment complex or something like that. So it's a very different. The, so I was going to ask you as well, Karthik. When you meet people from the city, do you feel that you being born in rural India, are you more connected to nature in a way? Are you more sensitive towards it?
That's an interesting question, right? Because I definitely feel more connected to nature in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that I played a lot outdoors, went to farm with my grandparents, and went to farm as a
Okay.
kid, and all that. But I don't think that connection with nature is necessarily appreciation for nature, because it just felt like a part of it. You don't really appreciate it, as like we were never taught to, oh, look around nature, like, oh, this is beauty, or you look around, it's just like, oh, open space, let's go play for it, play in it, and that's it. But I definitely feel lucky in a way that like I'm more comfortable being in the trees, more comfortable being in the nature, more comfortable being around like bugs and things like that. But I think the appreciation part has to be ingrained as a kid to taught, and then when we ourselves were more in survival mode rather than in appreciative mode,
Mm-hmm.
don't really think of it that way.
Yeah. I think it's really up to society. One, at home, your parents, and outside, what you visually see the rest of society doing. That plays a real big impact on what you end up doing as well. At least in terms of how conscious you are towards nature.
No, definitely.
All right, so do we have anything else that we'd like to discuss from our early years and growing up? Any connection to climbing, maybe,
Any
or
connection to
the
climbing?
outdoors?
No, I just
Yeah.
my childhood has no outdoors other than like outdoors in the way that we are talking about in this conversation. Our outdoors
Okay.
is just cricket and football, but
But Karthik, that's as outdoors as it gets during childhood, yeah. In
yes,
India,
yes, no,
people
but
don't really get to trek a lot when they're kids.
that's true. But I was just saying in the way that when we're talking about on a climbing, have access to climbing or things like I don't think anyone in my village even now use a sleeping bag or like
But
sitting, but yeah, I just like spent a lot of time outdoors.
So I bet a lot of people in your hometown would be more comfortable sleeping outdoors than people from my city would be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
but at, but since Karthik mentioned that, that what do you say, as a child he didn't have access to this, and well, I said the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if this ever happens to you. I get really envious when I see kids now get access to climbing walls or any sort of climbing facility, because I immediately go back to, if I had had access when I was younger, damn, I could have been far more stronger right
I
now.
mean, our parents probably feel that way about technology too. If they had it earlier, they would be able to do so much. As we progress through life, things are going to change, and I guess we should be happy, and we should now be those change makers or those people who can influence and get the kids to experience it or push them in their sport, encourage them in the best way that we can.
All right, that's Yogi being Yogi, very zen.
Well, we can try. Okay, so next I'd like to know what you'll do for work. If the outdoors and climbing is part of your work, or if the outdoors and climbing is a break away from your work. So we'd like to get to know what you'll do for work and is climbing part of it, or is climbing the nice break away from work?
Go
Supriya?
on, Karthik. Oh, me first. My work doesn't afford me any sort of outdoor activity at all. Like
Okay.
I said, I'm in sports broadcast. So, what ends up happening is if you're covering any tournament, that will immediately mean that, let's say, if it's a month long tournament, then you're not going to be able to climb for that month. Okay. Because you could either be busy every single day, maybe you get one break in 10 odd days, or you could simply be traveling to a different city. So
Okay.
and that's happened a lot. So as a result, what happens is it really takes away from your ability to climb for long durations. For instance, in the last 2 3 years, there have been times when I've been busy from Jan right up till the end of June because there's some tournament or the other that's happening. And
Okay.
also in Mumbai, what ends up happening is that those are the best months for climbing, barring the summer months of, let's say, May, June,
Okay.
because after that there's a very long monsoon
Monsoon.
that hits home, and then that means that you're again out of commission for at least 3.5 months. So essentially speaking, then that can almost put you, well, take you away from climbing for more than half a year, and that can really impact your climbing. But I learned to make my peace with it by, one, despite not liking indoor climbing at all, like I really have to motivate myself to go bouldering like a lot, a lot. I keep looking for support around Bombay and keep asking, "Are you going? Are you going?" Only then will I come along. So that helps.
Okay.
But yeah, and also I think what you realize is, past a point, yes, you're not able to, upskill as much as you would have been able to if you were able to climb as regularly. But
Consistently, that you
yeah,
can't do that. Okay.
yeah, but despite that, what happens is because you've been climbing for a certain number of years, every time you come back, there is your threshold of, well, where you come back to your baseline
Mm-hmm.
is always a little higher than where you left. So that is some small consolation. So you can always go back to it. And
Got it.
I think one good point about being able to travel like this is a lot of times I've been able to club some sort of climbing once the work is done. So, for instance,
I
I
was actually going
remember,
to ask as soon as you were done. I was like, you say you travel a lot and you can't
yeah,
afford to climb because of it. But I think on the flip side, if you do travel a lot, I mean, you do move around the country a lot more. So
yeah.
you have access, or places are closer to you during your travel. So I was going to ask you if you could take a few days off between shoots and travel and climb during that time.
So I've had the craziest trip. I was in Bangalore for a very long duration. So I had this massive suitcase. Okay, think those the biggest suitcase size. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the size that I was traveling with. And then after that, there's a friend from Bombay who was going to travel to Hampi, and she
Okay.
said, "Come along." And I was like, "Wait, you know what? I have too much luggage." She said, it's okay, we'll manage." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I traveled to Hampi, except I got there much sooner. And then there was a lot of miscommunication because of which I waited at the bus stop in Hubli. Then I also took the bus. Then I got off at Hampi. And now I had this massive suitcase. Everyone's looking at me like, what is this behavior? Like, where do
Mm-hmm.
you think you've come? And I literally dragged that suitcase through the entire city, down to the temple steps, to the riverbed, lugged it onto the boat, crossed the river with it, and then climbed back up. And don't even ask, like, it was insane. And then I finally ended up keeping that suitcase because I was staying in, I forget the woman's name, yeah, the one who runs the place
Goan
in
corner.
Hampi. Huh?
Is it Goan corner?
No, no, not the Goan Corner. The woman, the one who lets you sleep on the terrace.
I'm
Okay,
unaware.
so there's this one woman, Karthik might know. Well, a lot of people here know. So she lets you just put a sleeping bag on her terrace and lets you sleep over there. It's like a joint place. So I was just going to stay over there. I kept the massive suitcase in her cafe. She was kind enough to let me keep it there. She's like, "What if it goes missing?" I was like, "I don't think anyone here is interested in what this has to hold. No one's even going to give it a second look." So,
Was it worth it?
oh, it definitely was. Although I have to say, as I like I mentioned already, don't like indoor climbing. I really don't like bouldering. It makes you feel so weak. It's annoying. And especially around seasoned boulderers, who'll all just kind of like jump up 6 feet high and they'll suddenly, they would have topped up and you're like, I don't even know where to start right now. I don't have the muscles. It's not helping, but yeah. But it was worth it. I,
It's
I got the
motivation.
hang of Humpy and the rock over there after 2 days of grave struggle. But yeah. So those kind of things keep happening. But I think you sometimes really have to uh, make up your mind mentally that you're going
Hmm.
to go through it and then just go through it.
Sweet. Karthik, would you like to talk to us about your work? What have you done? Because you are in the outdoor space. So,
Yeah. This is my
so
office, and it's
okay,
filled with climbing guides from all the southeast cracks, like all the climbing guides, guidebooks, and yeah, like in front of me is a wall full of climbing gear. So
okay,
yeah, I work with Outward Bound currently. I've been working with them for the last 7 years.
okay.
I
What did
work
they do?
as Outward Bound is, I would say, the world's oldest and biggest outdoor organization. It started
Okay,
in 1940s in Scotland, and now it started in 1961 in USA, and
okay,
it has across multiple schools in multiple countries and within
hmm,
USA. So it's like there is Outward Bound International, which is the bigger Outward Bound, and
okay,
under Outward Bound International there is Outward Bound Singapore, Hong Kong, Outward Bound USA, Vietnam, Thailand, New
okay.
Zealand, Australia. It's like a lot of countries, more than 30 countries. And within Outward
Are
Bound
they
USA,
are they present in India?
there are two Outward Bounds in India, Outward Bound Himalaya and Outward Bound Bharat, but they operate on a very different scale and very differently than a lot of Outward Bounds.
Hmm.
And within Outward Bound USA, there are 22 schools. Outward Bound, like where I work right now, Outward Bound North Carolina is one of the
Hmm.
biggest in USA.
Okay,
And last 2 years, I was working with Northwest Outward Bound based out of Washington State in the Cascades.
okay,
And that sadly shut down. So I came back to North Carolina. I started here for 5 years, went to Northwest for 2 years, and then came back here.
okay.
My current role here is a resident climbing specialist.
Hmm.
So I'm responsible for training the staff, and I'm also responsible for training the other climbing specialists. And sometimes, when we have bigger courses, I'm responsible for taking students on multi pitches or introducing them to rescue techniques and stuff like that. And so that's my role, and
Hmm.
I really like it. When I joined Outward Bound, I joined as an instructor, a field instructor, and then grew from instructor to lead instructor to course director, and to program manager. And now the role I have is my favorite role, probably the role I'm gonna stay in for a few years. I have to take a step down from my previous role to be in this role.
Which is?
So, resident climbing specialist.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So, so as a field instructor, I really enjoyed the life. Sometimes I'm out instructing 72-day courses, 50-day courses.
Okay.
But so the best thing about field instructor job is you you are in the field with the students, you see the difference you're making for the students, and you build rapport, you make these connections, you have these stories, and you see the change that you're making in them, and in a metaphorical bigger way, you see the change you're making in the world with these young students. So I really enjoy that part of outdoor education. But the one slight con, it's not a con, I enjoyed it in my 20s, but now in my 30s, like one thing I didn't enjoy is like, you're out in the field sleeping on the ground for 40 days, 50 days straight, eating the food cooked by students, which, not always is good because we let them go through their process. So after
Okay.
some days, we ask them, even if they're making mistakes, we let them make mistakes. So the side of that is like you're eating some pretty horrible food because you let the students want to learn through the experience. And so that part of outdoor education, I really, there are like the pros is time with the students, the con is like spending time outside for long, like 30, 40 days, you don't have phone connectivity, you don't have internet, you can't talk to your family, anything like that. And then the last
Hmm.
2 years and 3 years, I was course director or program manager, which is like mostly desk job. So
Okay.
the pros is I get to stay in the base. I get to maybe 90% of my job is like get to stay in the base, eat food cooked by like an amazing chef who prepares food for us, and then uh, everything. But the con is you're sitting in front of a laptop.
Yeah.
So, so this year I actually took a pay cut and took a step down. I took like 3 roles step down. Said that, like I don't want to do this anymore, and now I'm the resident climbing specialist. So the good thing is every day of my work is outdoors, but by evening 4 o'clock I say bye bye. I come back to my cabin and I I stay. So it's like a great balance of
Sounds like the best of both worlds.
yeah, it's the best of the both worlds. So I really like it. So when I said like last 9 days I was working, today is my first off day. 3 of those days are multi-pitching with 18-year-olds. 2 of those days are introducing staff to multi-pitch rescue stuff. Another
Okay.
4 days are just with single pitch climbing. So it's just like a lot of every day of my work is climbing. So it's really
Okay.
fun.
Are there ever days where you're like, okay, you know what, I don't want to go, like where you get maybe a little bogged down or bored because it's only human, right? Because you're constantly doing this also.
Not yet. I one thing I tell to people, like people who know me, like Sohana, it's a joke that even within outward bound that goes is like I am one of those climbers whose uh, least favorite part of climbing is climbing. Like the for me the favorite part of climbing is to teach people how to climb. Like I really get a lot of. I think I don't consider myself a climber. I consider myself an educator. Like the education part is what excites me. Like, oh, I taught this claw hitch 4 different types to this particular student who is dyslexic and is not getting this. How can I challenge myself to teach this in a new way that this student gets? That part really stimulates my brain, and I really enjoy teaching climbing. So that's my favorite part. And then the rope systems and the rescue systems, playing with the ropes, they're my second favorite part. Like the physical aspect of climbing, I would say, is my last least favorite. I enjoy the approaches. I enjoy being in outdoors for longer time. So if someone asks me like 2 days ago, I did like a 13 pitch climb, but then it had like a 4 miles of hiking and a 4 miles of hike out. And my partner was like, why can't we do something closer? And we are getting to spend more time in the outdoors, hiking, seeing this beautiful nature, fall colors. So in that way it doesn't I don't get bored because I actually do enjoy teaching it, and I actually do enjoy seeing the students struggling, and then you give them a tip and they're like, oh, that makes it so much easier. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm 4 pitches up hanging on the side of a mountain. And like those reactions that you get from the students, I think they keep it exciting for
You're enjoying your Guruji era.
me. Yeah, I know. Both my mom and dad are teachers, so I think it's
Oh,
I enjoy
Probably comes naturally to you.
it.
All right, so we'll move on to basically adventure journeys through climbing. Maybe if you want to share an anecdote about a climbing experience, since this is out of Bangalore, maybe out of Bangalore or out of India or something around the world. Obviously, only if you feel like, and whatever one you'd like to talk about. Or if someone would ask you in the last few years of climbing, what is that one climb that stands out to you? Let me rephrase that.
my God. I
Karthik,
think,
sorry.
go ahead.
I
No,
mean,
no, go
Supriya,
ahead.
if you're good, you can start.
I'll let
I
Kartik go.
Okay.
I have a few in the last few years. In the last few years, I had
I
some
mean, we are all ears. We'll listen to it. If
really
you'd
And
if
you
you'd like
should
to
too,
tell us a
considering the
few,
number of
we'll
climbing.
listen to you.
one climb that I was really happy about this year. That I actually, the moment I got down the wall, I sent the photos to Sohan and videos to Sohan. Is this climb called Glass Menagerie. It's in the Looking Glass. It goes at it's all trad and it goes at late. If you want to free it, it goes at 513B. But if you want to aid it, it goes at 511A or B. But it goes at A2 plus. So I aided it. It's my first big aid route, and
Okay.
it was really scary and really fun. We were on the wall for a little more than 10 hours, which is slow for like, they're like people who are like absolutely rock stars who can do that in 2 hours. But
Wow.
me and my partner, both of us were figuring out our aid systems, and just like, sometimes if you do a pitch, you're like, oh, that pitch was exciting. Can I do it again? So the other person does it. So we were not focused on doing. But it was really fun getting on an aid route, and and the way people describe Glass Menagerie, it's like a test piece for Yosemite. It's a test
Okay.
piece for El Cap in the southeast. It's one of the most coveted routes. Um, we met a lot of people on the wall that have done like a lot of routes on El Cap, either freed them or aided them. And the
Okay.
way they describe is like if you do Glass Menagerie, think of that you did one fourth of any of these big El Cap routes,
Ooh.
but you did harder than the hardest one fourth. Like this would be the crux on any of those routes, but just know that it will take four times the time on those routes. So it's like a good test
It's a
piece if you
stepping
want to.
stone.
It's like a good test piece. It's like, oh, I want to do LCAP next year, and if I want to do it in with only one night on the wall, I should be able to do it in 30 hours, which means this route I should be able to do it in 6 to 7 hours, so that I can multiply that with hauling, and then I can do that. So it's a good test piece. So it was a proud moment doing that. Um, Last year I had a lot of fun climbs. There's a route called Rebellion, which was one of my dumb decisions, but also fun. It became a fun
Where
day. A
was
lot of
this located?
it's in North Cascades.
Okay.
It's on a spire called the Chianti Spire.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fully trad route, but the approach is you gain a 4,000 feet elevation to reach a Burgundy coal, and from there you transfer onto glacier, and
Okay.
you do like 2.5 miles of hiking on a glacier, and then you reach
Wow.
the base of the climb, and then you have a seven pitch trad route. You top out on the top, and then you rappel down, and then you have to do that. Most people do that as like a 2.5 day. Like they reach to the base of the glacier on day one camp,
Okay.
then they do the climb, come back down, and then they
Camp
hike
and
out.
leave the next morning.
They hike. Yeah. So me and my partner, we did that in like car to car in 12 hours,
Ooh.
Okay.
and my I
Wow.
was like sure that it was like, oh, this summer it didn't snow that much, so I'll be fine. So I was in my trail, right? So like I have some really funny videos of me on the glacier in waist deep snow in my trail runners, and my partner was like laughing because it's like my feet were so cold. And yeah, so that's a great climb. And I was living in Masama last year, so my room I could leave my bed and hike really fast for 15 minutes, and I'm at the base of Fly Boys and uh, Prime Rib, which are two very coveted sport routes. Fly Boys is like a 18 pitch sport route. All you need is quick draws. You don't need anything to do an 18 pitch route, which is crazy. And Prime Rib is like 11 pitches. So last year I took a lot of people on them. I think I had like some 10, 15 laps on each of those routes. My fastest on Fly Boys being under 2 hours. And so just like had a lot of long climbs and fun climbs. When Northwest Outward Bound shut down last year, me and two of my colleagues, we did a traverse, which we grossly miscalculated
Oh,
and ended up becoming an adventure. But I think we have the first traverse of that mountain range. So we
okay.
picked like seven mountains that are in the ridge, and then just like did the ridge travel, climbed, rappelled down, continued ridge, and then it
Wow.
ended up being like a 64 mile, like little more than 100 kilometers, and around 35 pitches of climbing and around 30 pitches of rappelling, and a lot of class 4 terrain. And then we did that with 2 nights like camping. And yeah, I think that was the first traverse, which is like, it's always fun to get like a first ascent in the Cascades. So that was,
Sounds out of the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some memorable climbs in the last few years.
Uh, Karthik, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Not the grade of climbers, but besides how people climb, what do you see in the climbing scene, the difference between the US and India?
Uh, that's a great question.
Leaving out how strong the climbers are, just
Yeah.
talk about the entire scene or the
So
the.
when I say India,
Mhm,
I have a very limited knowledge of Indian climbing, which is when I say India, my
mhm.
climbing in India is either Manali or
Okay,
Bangalore.
we're only
So
talking about what you have noticed
yeah,
personally.
so if there's anybody here from other places of the country which don't agree with my statement, so I'm sorry, and that is just my ignorance coming out of not having climbed at other places. But one thing that I really like in the Bangalore climbing scene compared to the climbing scene here is the ready availability of mentorship. Is like on the groups, like it's like you can always drop a message, like like anytime I come to Bangalore, I reach out to Sohan or Tanvi or Shivani, and then one of them like literally adds me into a, like I think there are like some 20 different WhatsApp groups I'm part of that I don't even think I'd want to be in those many groups. But and then I every time I'm in US I get like, okay, tomorrow 7 a.m. we are meeting in Pacific.
Get ready
We are
for
doing
dosas.
Jenga tours, and so there is like uh, this really good mentorship culture in Bangalore that I have seen, that people like in US a lot of times it's like you see, like even within our organization where we live together and work together, a lot of times 2 times a week or 3 times a week I would be okay going out with like beginners to introduce them, but sometimes like it's like the strong climbers go in a cohort of strong climbers so they can do things that are hard and fun. And
Got
then
it.
the moderate climbers and beginners sometimes find it hard to get mentorship unless it's in a professional setting or you pay for that. Whereas here, in like I found like people with so much experience are always willing to be like, yeah, just come over. I'm like, like I said, like my first climbing experience was using a helmet, a harness given by Sohan, and
Yeah.
taught how to belay by him while he was climbing, right? And I was like a nobody at that point who had like, it was not even like, oh, I had my name at something or I was paying him or something. Like it was just purely out of his interest to, and that's there's so many people like that. And when I joined climbs in Bangalore, there are so many new people, beginners who are joining, who sometimes come with like cycling helmets and who sometimes come with no gear,
Yeah.
but it's so welcoming community. People are like, yeah, just bring whatever you have and we will figure it out from there. And I think that's a really good thing I like about the climbing in and around Bangalore and India. And
I
one
actually
thing that I
thought,
would,
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
and one thing I think that I like here in US sometimes is I think in I think it's just because of how small the community is in India with the climbing community, right? Like I was at Red River Gorge, Kentucky, 3 weeks ago, getting my AMGS recertified. One campsite called Miguel's
Hmm.
had more than 4,000 climbers camped that weekend. One, just one campsite, and
Okay.
there are like multiple campsites like that at Red River Gorge, and there are like
Got it.
thousands of people climbing that weekend, and there were like 8,000 trad routes. And
Okay.
so the climbing community is obviously huge here. But
Hmm.
one thing I do see is in USA there are the climbers are very easily differentiated, and every group has their own like respect in a way. Like even within our community or within here, like oh, Andrew, super strong sport climber, amazing, but I would
Okay.
not want Andrew to teach a class because Andrew is not a guide or an educator, or Andrew is like really horrible with his systems, but he's a really strong 513 climber, you
Okay.
know. So there is a differentiation between these group of people are really good mentors. They're really good with their rope systems. They're really good with their rescue systems. This group of people are really strong athletes. Like the difference between like a guide and an athlete.
Hmm.
Strong climber versus a strong rope
Like you
system.
said, you enjoy being an educator. So this
Yeah,
is
and not just being
yeah.
educator, right? Some guides doesn't need to be educators, but like
Okay.
it takes a different skill to be a good guide. Like it takes a different skill to climb a 513 by yourself
Mm-hmm.
versus to bring somebody safely up on a 511. It's a completely different skill set. It takes it's a different skill set to take people on multi-pitch and make sure that the rope systems are safe, and then they understand what's going, and then you can also like, so I think if you think about the levels of things, first thing is like, can you climb hard? And then can you climb hard while maintaining your rope systems? And then there is this thing of like, can you maintain rope systems with beginners? Can you teach rope systems? Right? There are like multiple sets.
Got
Uh,
it.
I think because of sometimes when I see like people like rushing in too fast in
Hmm.
India is like it's because of, I think it's not a bad thing, but because there is lack of bigger crowd. The moment you start climbing for 1 year, 1.5 year, and you start having that like you can climb hard within your area, then people look up to you and you're like, oh, can you take me out climbing? and then now suddenly you became this mentor to
Got it.
mentor other people, but then you yourself do not have the skills to mentor. You have the climbing ability to be a hard climber, but you do not have the skills to mentor. But you are being forced to put into a position where it's not because of your ego you are saying you're a mentor, but other people are like, you're the only one who can lead that and set up a top rope for us to climb. So you are like being forced to be a mentor.
Is there a
you
way
know
to change that in India to get a way to certify people? No.
I mean, it's what I'm saying is it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is it's not a bad thing,
Okay.
but sometimes people are being forced. It's like in a company when there is a role opening and they force you to promote even though you are not ready for that promotion,
Got it.
whether you want
Got
it
it.
or not. So sometimes people are being forced to be mentors, and then that can influence you. Once people surrounding you start looking at you like a mentor, you feel
Hmm.
like, okay, depending upon your mindset, it can very quickly fool yourself into thinking, oh, my learning process has stopped because I don't need to learn anymore because I'm teaching. But there is still a lot to learn, right?
Always.
So
Yeah.
that keeping that mindset open and always like seeking out like more professional development or more skills, like I've been like an AMGA guide for 6 years at this point, and 5 years, and I still like this year I still had 2 days where I paid other much more qualified people
Hmm.
to teach me skills that I feel like I needed. So it's a continued learning process.
Always. There's always room to upskill. Before we move on to Supriya, there's one thing that I want to touch back on. Yeah, it's interesting that you spoke about the scene in the US versus the scene in India and just described to me what I thought was just the climbing scene. But because I guess I've only climbed with people from India. To me, the climbing scene is so beautiful because I enjoy the social part of it so much. The people are so beautiful, and it starts with all of these people who really put their heart out there and take that effort to help you. With me, when I first started, Guju was there to help me when we would go outdoors bouldering, and he didn't need to do it, but he was there genuinely doing it for me. Like you have your story with Sohan, I got into rope climbing, and Sohan was there for me, even though he didn't need to be there. Then there was Tanvi. All of these people didn't need to be there, but this was what the community was giving me, and this is what I thought was beautiful in in the climbing community, at least. So now it's interesting to know that it's different out there, and this is just what the norm seems like in India. So,
Yeah,
Supriya,
and
would like
like
to.
in US,
Sorry.
there's also there are professions that make money out of it, right? Like my first trad climbing lesson
Hmm.
was from somebody who I consider a very close friend, who
Okay.
charged me $250 a day. So it's like it's their job. Like it's
Got it.
like sometimes when you don't have those venues in India,
Hmm.
it kind of forces people to be mentors. Where there are like 20 guiding companies that are making their living out of it, it could be easy for Sohen to say, hey,
Yeah,
these are the
do a
resources you should
do a
go for
course
if
at one
you
of these.
want
Correct.
to climb me.
Yeah.
And there are no
Got it.
resources that you can point towards, then you are like, okay, I'll take you there because I care about this sport and I want to increase it. And there is no other resources that can mentor you. So I'm not doing that.
Got it.
Very true.
Yeah. Supriya, you'd like to tell us one of uh, those climbs that stands out to you?
Well, actually, I think the common theme between Karthik's stories and mine is that after the one successful one, he kept talking about how they made foolish choices and how it turned into an adventure, right?
Hmm.
I think it's sometimes the failed ones that you come out of very successfully that really stick in your memory, because the successful ones you're like, yeah, you ascended and you sort of slot them away as one of your successes. So I was actually with one other climber. We took Sohan again.
Hmm.
We took his bike, all his gear, and we went to Ramnagra to
Okay.
climb. And we were in the Achlu area, and it was the first time I simul climbed with this other climber. So we reached from lower Achlu, we reach upper Achlu, and then that's when we realized, okay, we've bitten off more than we can chew because no one's climbed there in a very long time.
Okay.
So just the bushwhacking over there, like the grass, etc., was like twice our height. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
know where we were headed. We're just out in the blind. We're bushwhacking our way, trying to find our way to the route. And as a result of that, we were already running behind time. Now, the idea was it was a multi pitch, and the idea was we would top out and we would walk off. Except we start climbing, and the beginning of that route is extremely tough. So, you start off from here, and then there's quite a long traverse. And
Okay.
I was belaying, and the climber, I remember he put a piece in because that traverse just felt very dodgy.
Okay.
And before he was able to clip into the next bolt, he actually took a fall. The piece came flying out, and he took a massive fall. So
Okay.
that was one of the first things, like, that was how the climb started.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time we got to the first station, it started pouring. It poured like the heavens were just out to get us. And like, you're not going to climb this. So that station was actually very good because, it's like a tiny hovel into which we both sort of fit. And
Okay.
then we also took the rope in, but despite our best efforts, the rope got completely wet. So, and after being stuck there for, I think, more than an hour, where we just had rain coming down on us, we had to bail. And
Okay.
then, well, even getting back was a whole different circus because we lost our way. We couldn't find our way off the lower plateau that we had simul climbed onto because it was very difficult to find our way. So again, we called up Sohan, and he was trying to, tell us from all the way sitting in his house in Bangalore, wait, you're looking for these markings, and nothing was visible. And that entire rock had become very slippery because the rain had made it absolutely impossible to walk on. So
Mm-hmm.
we both got into our climbing shoes to just walk around without basically rolling off that plateau. It was quite an adventure for everything bar climbing, really.
Okay.
So yeah,
Do you know the name of the route?
I no, I can't
Okay. We'll
remember. I think
we'll find out.
we'll have to
So
ask
you
Sohan.
have an unfinished route in Bangalore.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure I have more than one, but that one really sticks out because
Okay.
we were like, okay, because the second pitch is, I if I remember correctly, it's the autobahn. Thank you, Sohan.
Thanks.
He was the one
Sohan to the
who
rescue, of
extended
course.
all his, yes. So, dude, he was literally to our rescue that day. He came literally to our rescue. Otherwise, we would have been stuck. We lost our way so many times. I swear there were times I thought this is where we are going to spend the night.
Okay, I have a question for you. What makes you keep coming back to Bangalore to climb?
Try coming to Mumbai, man. You'll get your answer. There's like, I think,
Okay.
a sum total of, and I'm sure I'm exaggerating over here, but it's like what, some 20-25 routes you keep climbing. I'm actually bored, even though I haven't climbed yet in this fresh season that has just started post monsoon. And when
Mm-hmm.
I think about Bombay, I'm already bored. I'm sure a lot of people are going to give me a lot of grief for this, for saying this, the ones who are there, but they'll also know what I mean because you know the routes in and out, and the ones that are, sort of testing you, you're still sort of scaling up to climb them, and the
Mm-hmm.
ones that you have already sent, well, you've sent them so many times that it's actually become absolutely boring. And um, Karthik mentioned the entire climbing scene in Bangalore. One, the community is so much bigger. The mentorship, Karthik, I absolutely agree with you. The sort of mentorship that exists in Bangalore honestly does not exist even in Mumbai. I think one is because of the size, it's a far smaller community, and even otherwise that somehow that culture has just not really taken root as much. It's not like, if you are at a crag, people won't help you out, they will. But in
Yeah.
terms of taking initiative and, sort of introducing people to the sport and really helping it to grow, that's not really it's not really being taken forward as strongly as it is in Bangalore. And well, then just the variety of routes that are at your disposal. I mean, the fact that, again, you've got such strong climbers in Bangalore, but the fact that all grades of routes are constantly worked on and opened up, which just keeps it such an inclusive sort of experience. You never
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're out of your depth because for every really difficult route, there'll also be, other grades of routes, and there'll always be someone who's willing to take you out and, just make it a
Show
day
you the
of
ropes.
climbing for you. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. That's very rare.
Okay. I just looked at these little notes I made, and I have another question. Only if you want to answer this, Supriya. From a woman's perspective, how safe do you feel in the outdoor spaces within our country?
See, that honestly depends. So, for instance, I have found myself alone at the Mumbai crag that we frequent um, almost, I think, every alternate week, if not every week. And I found myself one time there with just one other climber. It was just two of us.
Hmm.
The other climber was a guy. And there's a slum close by. So these people, sort of walked up, and they were very close by. You could hear them. They weren't really visible, but you could hear them. um just knowing that, once we wrapped up, we had to walk past that area, and you didn't really know how many people there were, that sort of always puts you on your guard. It's
Hmm.
never as simple as, just making it about the outdoors, because as soon as you're aware of your isolation and the fact that, there may be elements that are not necessarily friendly towards you, it
Hmm.
really puts you on your guard. And it's happened several times, so it makes you think, like, that one time has thereafter made me very cautious about going out with only just two people. And,
Understood.
like, I mean, I'm not worried about the other climber. These are people that, you literally trust with your life, and they're really good friends.
Hmm.
But it's about knowing that should something happen,
Hmm.
um, things can really go wrong. I mean, we do have a friend in Mumbai who's been in a situation where they were in a national park in
Okay.
Mumbai, and they were out climbing, and they got mugged. So what happened was, one of the climbers had their daughter with him. I
Okay.
don't remember how old she was, but she was small. So, and the other woman, she was the only woman in the group.
Okay.
So, the men in the group, they just kind of, told them to hide. So
Okay.
the woman climber and the little daughter, they were hiding somewhere in the bushes, while the male climbers, they sort of got roughed up, and they gave away whatever they could. But see, those sort of
Yeah,
things are
one would
always
have to go
possible.
to
So
through something like that.
yeah, yeah. So which is why I think you're definitely on your guard, in certain situations. Not if there's a crowd, etc., then I don't think these sort of things really come to your mind. Then you're more worried about snakes.
Okay. We have about 3 minutes to wrap up. I have only one question for you all at the end of it. So I wanted to open space here. If you all would like to talk about anything at all that maybe I have missed out on, the climbing community is here to listen to you. Karthik, would you like to say anything at all?
No, I I think I really like Bangalore climbing because of the. I think it's a great classroom. Uh,
Hmm.
it has climbs of all different grades, and the people are uh, really nice. I don't know if many of the people in the group knows this person called Sukrit. He's like a strong climber. I met him in Manali. He's has been climbing for a long time. Really strong climber, and I took him on a three-pitch route in Satan, a trad route, and then he was really out of his element. Like I feel comfortable sharing his story because we're best friends. He
Hmm.
was really out of his element, and then the next year when I came back to India, he wanted to learn and be comfortable being on a multi-pitch and being comfortable extra exposure. And when he asked me that, the only place I could think to teach that, the only venue I could think to teach that is Bangalore. Where it has easy, moderate, and hard routes that you can progressively put on harder. Like we had a day where, in a single day, we did not Natu, and then we went to High Lonesome, and then we finished Junoon. So it's like 20 pitches of climbing, and all accessible and progressively getting harder. So I think that's what makes Bangalore a special place. Is it has five routes and it has 513 routes, and it's a great classroom, and it has routes of all kinds. There is trad, there is sport, there is multi pitches, single pitches, and that's why it keeps attracting people.
I don't think it's a
Supriya?
coincidence that I learned elements of, well, multi-pitching and also went for a TAD workshop with Sohan in Bangalore. I
Wow.
think
I should have just
Yogi,
asked you all my last question.
which is what? Why do you love
So,
Bangalore?
no, so since this was a BCI initiative, I thought I'd be a little selfish and ask one BCI question. I thought we'll end with, in 2 minutes or below, what's BCI to you?
I think it's the very, for me at least, I'm saying for me because it can't be a pan climber thing, but I think for me it's the very heartbeat of the climbing experience for me. Because it opened up ROMP and it opened up an entire plethora of experiences and, basically broadened my horizons and the possibilities that exist in climbing, however little time you may have at times.
For me, BCI is a place that provides a safe space for people to try and fail and still feel like they belong. So I think that's the way I look at BCI. Is like whenever I'm in India, I try to go to their workshops, whether it's like some of the workshops that I led or some of the times the beginner workshops. I just like to go and be part. And so he's like, can you observe and tell us what can we improve, or like can you observe? And one thing I see is like, because prior to this, a big climbing workshop in India, you have to remember the only time I saw a big climbing workshop in India is the BMC. So the BCI standard to the BMC standard is what it should have been in the first place, and it's not about that putting people down. I see BCA creates a really, really safe place for people to come, try, and go back home feeling successful because, like, it's a very open space to define your own success. If you didn't climb as hard as others and you picked up belaying really well on your first day of climbing, I saw the people who organize BCA workshops go give positive, like, reinforcements and like making the people say like, okay, you had a really successful climbing day because on your first day you learn how to belay really well. And I think that's important.
Nice. All right, guys. It was a pleasure speaking to you all this evening. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you, Supriya, and thank you, Karthik, for sharing everything with us. And from all of us at BCI, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
We'll
much.
see
having us.
you in the next one.